A large part of why building a tiny house works out so well for me is because I'm living within my means. And I only built something that I could afford to pay cash for. When I came out here, I had nothing. I had a trailer that wouldn't even haul water. Eventually, I was able to get this little trailer. Then I got this one and rebuilt it. And I've had this van all along. It's given me hell. And if you've been following along...
This video is sponsored by Membrane Solutions. More about them later.
You might know I've done all kinds of work on this thing. And today... for the bajillionth time, I can say we're up and running. And when I parked it, it wouldn't even start really. So we're back up and running. I guess the air is fresh over here. That's why Incas is sitting by the exhaust. That's how clean it is. It's taken me quite some time, but I picked this truck up the other day. It was, there's very little rust. The engine's pretty good, but it was an absolute mess inside, and I cleaned it up. So now it looks pretty decent. I'm still gonna get upholstery paint for the door panels and a cover for the seat. But I did all that Rhino line. I painted the entire inside. I rewrapped the dash. I've already sanded down every bit of rust and treated it so I can paint the outside as well. I was able to afford to put new tires on the back and to redo the valve cover and the seal inside, and I painted it while I was there. I've got plugs, wires, and a new HEI distributor on the way. I'll probably replace these hoses just cause. I put in a new sending unit in the back. I'll replace the fuel pump. I'm replacing the fuel filters. They might be here today. Once the basic tune-up's done, then I'll rebuild the carburetor, and down the road I might hot rod it a little bit by new intake, new exhaust, new upgraded carburetor. Anyway, this truck is super reliable and easy to work on, and I couldn't afford to do this really, paying cash for these things without the tiny house. That's a huge impact on my ability to, pay for regular stuff. Like, oh, I need some food? Okay, buy some food. I can't tell you how many times in the past it just wasn't like that. I was so tight on money. Even when I made way more money, I was so tight on money because I was spending it on all the bills, spending it on the rent or mortgage. You make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money. Living within your means, building a truck instead of paying $700 or $1,000 a month for one, building the cabin, this was $13,000 pretty well all in. My entire homestead is like $50K all in so far, which might sound like a lot, but I mean, it's relatively nothing to own your home, own your land, and to be able to build a little bit of wealth. So I lived right here, but in the van for 5 years. So if you can imagine, it gets real windy, real monsoon out here, heavy weather. And so you're cooped up in there when it's windy. I'm talking it'll be super windy for 7 days straight. Did you know I use a Membrane Solutions water filter every single day? Whether it's water I've hauled in from town, rainwater I've harvested, which is perfectly safe anyway, I just run it through the filter to be sure. I fill up mugs like this and throw them in the fridge. If I'm going to be running around town or further out on the homestead, I grab this water bottle or my new stainless steel Membrane Solutions water bottle. Both of these have built-in filtration. So the filter comes inside the bottle in a plastic package, and there's this bottom piece and the top piece. Simply remove them from the package, assemble them, screw them into the bottom of the lid here. You see? and just assemble the product like so. You could technically put some pretty sketchy water in here as long as it wasn't contaminated with chemicals, and this water filter should clean it up nicely. There's really not a better water filtration company on the planet that I know of making water filters like this. Super convenient. You use them every day. I mean, you should. You don't want to get Giardia or something with the wrong water. So filter your water, stay hydrated, and we'll get back to the video. And it's so windy that you can hardly even be outside. There's dust in your eyes. So I lived there for 5 years, and the homeostasis that the cabin creates is outlandish compared to that, where you know, the cabin isn't shaking when it's windy and blowing, and the rain is nothing, and there's still enough room to move around. You know, if it's real stormy, I could hang out in the bedroom and relax. I can come down here, watch TV, play a video game, enjoy the company of the dogs. There's enough room to stretch out, maybe do some yoga or workout. I could pack products. You know, there's enough room in here that I can move around and do the things I need to do without being outside, you know? You know, this table folds up out of the way if I need even more room. Soon I'm going to build the Russian stove here. That's why there's a little exhaust hole. That'll get plugged. But there's going to be a Russian stove here, and I've got the kitchen and a fridge, and there's a little bit of water under there because I don't have plumbing in here really. And then a little, you know, I got my pantry, everything I need in this little, you know, it's a tiny home, but what a great place for me, you know. Even just I walk across this plank and water and look out the window, and it's just really enjoyable to be in here as opposed to cooped up in the van. I did love the van, but this, in my opinion, is better. So if I'm being entirely honest, simply being able to save a little bit of money, being able to put some money aside, one of the most valuable overlooked things you can do is put money aside. And this has allowed me to do that, you know. I'm not saying I have a ton of money, but I was able to pay for this cabin as I went. I spent a little each month that I could. And then what happened recently was my truck broke down for the bazillionth time, mostly because I'm not a phenomenal mechanic, you know? And so I would work on something, and then maybe the fuel injector wasn't sitting perfect, and so I had to tear it apart and do it again, and that's my fault for not being a phenomenal mechanic. But an old 205 inline 6 like the truck I just bought, even somebody like me that's not a phenomenal mechanic can tear that down and replace the header seal and all that, you know? And so anyhow, my van had broke down again, and I was starting to think, holy smokes, it might be a blown header, and I kind of panicked because it's been breaking down, and I had a little bit of money, and I saw a good deal on a truck, and I went and got it. And what's wild is as soon as I got that truck and I got it running pretty good, then I was able to, I think I figured out that the main thing, embarrassingly enough, that was really causing trouble. So I parked the van and it wouldn't start. So there was that main problem, which was the catalytic converter was clogged, basically. I'd had O2 sensor problems for quite some time. So I cleaned the catalytic converter and the O2 sensors and all that. Got it running again. But then it dawned on me that the PCV valve might be why I'm burning through oil, clogging up my catalytic converters and all that. So I replaced that. It's running great right now. And so the only way we'll know for sure is the next time I run to town to do something and back. And as long as, you know, so far, no check engine light. So that could be that. And you know what? Gosh, I've been out here 5 years, guys. And let me tell you, when you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere and your vehicle breaks down, you're on your own. If you might pull it apart and then a bolt gets broken or something and you're in trouble and you got to figure it out. And that's stressful. It's worked all this time, but it's stressful. And having 2 trucks is phenomenal. And having a truck that, like, I mean, I could almost fix that thing no matter what, even if I couldn't get the part. I could probably manufacture my own. Like, it's that much easier to work on those old trucks. I've built really nice dog houses for the dogs, but they like to be inside and I enjoy their company. And that's another added benefit of the cabin is I can always set the dogs, in the cabin, and actually quite often they're in here. I like to be real clean and organized, and it does so much for me to have the cabin so I can organize the shelves and put things away. And I was always clean and organized in my camper van, but a lot of people say, wow, that's a tiny space, it must be easy to keep clean. I think it's the opposite. It's so tiny that if you set a cup down, it's now a mess, And so it was a lot of work to keep the van clean. Dogs coming in and out, sweeping 6 times a day. I still have to sweep a couple times a day in here, but the space to be organized, and it feels good, and it helps my productivity. Maybe I'm getting better rest, and if I want to, the couch here slides out into a bed. I was real sick not long ago, and I just stayed downstairs, and it was super cozy down here too. And yeah, I think the main thing is it helps me live within my means, and I'm almost 42 years old, and if you've made some bad decisions in your past and had it all and lost it all and had your ups and downs, and you're 40 and you're like, oh crap, like I should be further along. I think a good way to get there is to buy land, build a homestead. You build yourself a home on it. I see a lot of people get hung up on like, oh, I have to get septic and all that. Well, that's just part of the plan. Just include getting septic in your plan, build up the savings that you can, and move forward. And complaining will never get you anywhere. Just continue to do your best. Assume everything will work out, and it will.